Okay, here we are now. We've got the lure cut out. We've got our diagram lines all drawn out for whittling it on the top and the bottom. We're going to start whittling. To do my whittling, I use an O'Kay's pocket knife that I've had for years. It's a real good one. No special knives needed, no special tools, a lot of time and patience. The one thing about your knife, make sure you keep it real sharp, because you're going to have to make a lot of crisp cuts, and a dull knife will have a tendency to splinter and pull out big chunks a lot of times when you don't really want to. You've got some big areas of removal to make, but always remember it's a lot better to take it small a little bit at a time, especially when you're whittling with white pine. White pine's real straight grain, but it also has a tendency to want to split. And it's a tough wood when you're done. It's plenty strong. You just got to be sure that you make sure you take little cuts not to splinter it and not to pull back. When I start whittling, I like to use like my, drop point blade, whatever. I start off with it. Again, it doesn't matter. That's just a matter of personal preference. I always start on this line like I drew right here for the cross part to whittle it back. I'll put my blade on that angle and then I'll pull back to me. Most everybody knows how to whittle. That's not really the big trick here. The main thing of it is you want to keep it within that line as you go down. Pull it back, work it back. Keep your thumbs out of the way or a large supply of Band-Aids on hand. It usually works out a lot better just to keep the knife blade off the thumb. Whittle this down, get it squared to our lines. Now you can see I'm down to that line there, and I'm down to my line over here. So now I want to start on the other side, do the same thing. Get your knife on that line and keep it with the same angle, and then feed it through. Come down easy, shave it back. The whole purpose of this is you got to keep the lure in perspective as you go. That'll give you your balance when it's in the water and make sure that everything runs straight with it. When you're doing something out of square, when you swedge down, once you lose that square edge, you really can't get it back. And it's hard to keep one true when you're whittling if you lose it. So make sure you stay on these lines that you've drawn out for yourself. Try to make sure you keep the sides flush for right now. Take a push on there. One thing for anybody that's not very accustomed to whittling, a lot of times one side of the wood will whittle a whole lot easier than the other. Sometimes that's due because of the direction of the grain you're going against or with, or sometimes it might be because the grain of the wood's a little denser on one side. So don't really expect the same results out of both sides. Sometimes you have to just use a real fine touch with it. Now that I've got that whittled down there, I'm going to start out and I'm going to start working on my bill. Now remember a while ago, whenever we said, we always want to whittle from the top, not from the bottom, because you got to leave a good throat on it. So if you do anything, you always want to make sure you pull the top down tighter, pull it in more, and leave the bottom a little wider. So what I'm going to do, I've got my spoon diagram drawn out here. I'm going to put my knife on my mark right here, and I'm going to try to come straight with the lure, like this. I'm going to try to keep my knife at an angle. I'm going to bring that in real careful. Work it in like that. Then I'll take my knife and I'll come down this 30-degree angle like this, and I'll work it in here like so, and take a chip out. Now we'll do the same thing with this side here. come straight with it, like so. I'll work my knife down to my point, then bring my knife blade on this 30-degree angle like this. Work real easy, because right here is a real good, when you're doing this, go easy and don't use a lot of pressure. This is a good place to split the lure right in two. If your grain separates real quick, it's also kind of dangerous for your hand. Something I highly recommend to anybody that's got one or has access to get one is they make a Kevlar whittling glove. They're worth every dime you pay for them. Now that I've made that in there, I'll take and pull this down and whittle this front end. Kind of pull and chop back. The object is we want to get this front rounded. Sometimes it's more of a scraping motion than anything as you go across. Now with that done there, we'll come on the bottom and we'll just nick in. Just nick it in. Then we'll bring our side in, making these. Always making sure we never go any deeper on the bottom than what we are on the top. We're gonna let that top be our guide. Then we'll round the bottom off a little, shave it down just a little. And that's pretty much our rough end whittling on this side of the bill. Now, I'm going to turn it over here. We'll do the same thing on this side, on the bottom. Bring this down. It gets a little quicker as you go. After you've done a few of these, you'll get faster, a little better, and before you know it, you'll be knocking these out real quick. Okay, we've got it all whittled out now. We've got the bill whittled down, profiled all the way around fairly well. Got it all nice, good. The next step is to take and just smooth our edges out, round them over, rough them down to get ready to start shaping it in. The way to do that is I just take the knife and I come down my edges little at a time, just kind of shave it down. Basically just rounding your edges over, getting the sharp corners. Now let your knife kind of scrape and glide and everything as you go through. Be real careful in this area here, because this is where you'll peel off way more than what you want to. If you ever do that, if you ever do splitter off a real big piece that you didn't intend to, get you some Elmer's Carpenter's wood glue, glue the piece back in, clamp it down, let it dry good, and then you can kind of go on from there. I've had to do that a few times. It won't happen too often if you be careful and watch. Sometimes if it don't want to whittle one way, turn it around and go the other direction with it. Because as I said earlier, sometimes this wood will whittle better one direction than it will in another. You can see how big of a chip come off of that there. And see how that one's starting. If I put too much pressure on that, I'm really going to take a big splinter with it. And I don't want to do that, so I'm going to turn around and I'll go the other direction and pull that down. And that'll keep me on the right plane with it. Pull both sides down, try to get it about the same on both. Every once in a while, take and hold it out in front of you and sight it to make sure that everything's staying true and straight. You want to make sure that you got the same amount on both sides, everything's staying in profile and all of that, because that'll have a really big bearing on how it floats and whether it lifts or not, and it'll also have how it pulls through the water when you're done. On the bill, the bottom side would do the same way as the top. We'll whittle it down. But on the bill, I've kind of got the edges rounded off. Always come from your sides and nip your corners. Don't try to start in from the end and pull, or you'll split. Come in from the edges, the sides of it, and pull it around like so. Round in profile, so that it ends up looking like that, of sorts. And when we get the bottom whittled down, get it splintered out, make sure there's no loose pieces and then it's rounded over. Then we'll start our profile and working it down with our wood rasp. Some people opt out. Some people really like to take the time and whittle these all with a knife and everything. I like to use a wood rasp on them once I get them roughed out to shape, because if you use a wood rasp, it gives it a lot smoother finish. You don't run the risk of splintering it as bad, tearing holes in it. Can be a little faster method of getting them done. But it's easier for me to keep them running true and straight and in perspective with a rasp when I'm working down my finished profile. There again, I guess that's all just a matter of opinion, what you prefer. The main thing to keep in mind is, however you do it, just always make sure that you sight it periodically. I always like to leave my pencil line in. I try not to whittle them out, because that is your balance point and your center to show you how to keep the lure running true and straight.